I mean, how to deliver projects on time with world-class quality? Yeah.
Well, that's a very big question, and it's most challenging.
Today we have with us Mr. P.K. Das, who is one of the renowned architect of India, and he has been involved in many of the multinational companies in many projects across the country. Over and above, he is also associated with many of the government regulatory boards in the state of Maharashtra. So we are fortunate to have you, sir. Welcome. So
Thank you. Thank you.
my mission is to, uh, transform the real estate industry, developers, owners, builders, contracting companies, how to deliver projects on time with world-class quality. So I have had the opportunity to work with you during my Tata days. I know you personally.
Yes.
So what is your say on this? Your perspective?
Just sorry, repeat the question. I didn't get the question.
The
Unfortunately, the market, or the industry rather, is very little developed in the art of good quality construction, efficient implementation, and on timely completion. Now, these are the three key issues relating to any project implementation. So it's the quality, it's the efficiency, and it's the time in which projects must be delivered to achieve its best value. Unfortunately, we have no way, culturally, we do not assess the real value of a project and its implementation, particularly at its implementation stages. So value is not just the cost or an estimate of a project or its revised costs and updated costs that keep coming in the way of any delay. But it's a whole lot of factors. It's factors of investment to the turnover, where time plays an important role. It's the engagement of labor, most importantly, in the execution of the project, which we do not really account its real value. We underplay the value of labor. And labor, as you know, in India is the lowest paid in the construction industry. But more than just being paid less, they're largely casual labor. They are, in most projects, picked up on a daily basis from the market square. And that is a big issue that the industry must address if it is interested in all the three aspects that I talked about: quality, efficiency, and cost. Quality, efficiency, and timely completion. Now, the costs are therefore hidden. Large parts of the costs are hidden costs. We must devise ways, and this is no rocket science. Industry internationally have devised it. We must adapt, rather, not devise, more intelligent ways of assessing value of a project during its implementation period. Like labor, consultants are also taken into granted to be the next cheap labor. An investor and a client looks at a professional and consultants as merely in terms of their labor. They fail to value a consultancy fee in terms of their creativity and their value addition to a project. With a contractor, there's sometimes value, a client does value, because there is in real terms, material investment and output, but a consultant is a mind time. It's a brain time. There's no material investment. uh, and its turnover in a project. So all of this has to be taken into account, which compound the weaknesses or the failures in assessing all of these factors combinedly lead to bad quality construction, staggering delays, and inefficiency in the administration and project management of a project.
Correct, sir. Thank you. I think you have rightly addressed most of the issues. However, given the fact that the Prime Minister declaring from the Red Fort on 15th of August, laying a way forward for the country to be a developed nation within 25 years, next 25 years. So having said that, the real estate industry is going to be contributing 15 to 20% of India's GDP in the next 3 to 7 years. By 2030, the projection is like that, which in essence is going to be contributing approximately $1 trillion. And within 2 to 3 years, we are going to be a $5 trillion economy. There is no question about it. We are already $3.5 trillion. So such a large volume of work, who is going to contribute? On top of it, what you said, I would put another perspective. There are two things basically. One is the mindset part of it. Basically, the industry leaders, the real estate developers, most of whom they think that what they know, they are right. They are not ready to listen to anybody. They are bent upon in their decisions. That contributes to 60% of the problems, according to me. Second part of it, the engineers in India, as far as the skill part of it, civil, mechanical, and engineer, very less people are skilled. To me, it was a statement given by Mr. Sridharan. 95% of the Indian civil, electrical, mechanical engineers do not have the skills as compared to the global standards. So, with this scenario, how we are going to be able to do this big chunk of work which is coming on the way? I mean, we
There are two parts to your question.
Yeah.
One is the national targets and economic growth and turnover in trillions and so on and so forth. Now, those sounds very impressive. They're big numbers. There is hope. But most often it stays at that, with hopes, not relate in real terms to benefits, at least benefits that could go down to the grassroots level, to the last person in the economic chain. But that's one part of the question, which is it's a complex question and requires lengthy answers and investigation. But the other part of the question is Sridharan making this statement about consultants and a lack of skill and knowledge of consultants. I touched upon this briefly in my last answer to your first question, that we undervalue the significance of consultants' projects. After casual labor, consultants are probably the next cheap labor that an agency or the investor or the promoter considers. Highly underpaid consultants, casually approached, the value of their times given least importance. There is no scope within project cost to elevate skill set of personnel on the project, which must be factored in the financial budgeting or estimation of a project. That a team that comes together on a project, it's always about coming together of different people. It's not a single person's effort. It's a collective. It's a cooperation that has to be built, with which a team undertakes and delivers successfully or unsuccessfully a project, right?
Correct.
On all the three scores that I talked about: efficiency, quality, and time. Now, if these are not valued, skill set training is not valued. If the time input of a consultant is not valued. They're called casually any times, any number of times to provide consultancy and provide clarifications, which they have initially provided but have been ignored. And in most instances, consultants' advices are ignored professionally to find alternatives and shortcuts by somebody else who administers it at the administrative level, at a management level, to be a genius in all decisions, including professional skills and knowledge set. So this whole idea of a management, a CEO who's least qualified in the technicalities of a project implementation undertakes charge and then undervalues everybody else other than managers,
Yes, very true.
reflects in the quality of consultancy that we provide.
Yes,
And we are considered as consultants as a labor, as a cheap labor. So our intelligence, our creativity is least exploited or provided opportunity in the implementation of a project. This is a very big
yeah.
issue. I'll give you a parallel example. Internationally, they are paid by the hour, man hour. A consultant, even if it's called for clarification after the construction drawings have been issued, are adequately covered on man hour basis. We are called free. And a stigma is set that the consultant has not provided adequate information, hence being called and must be considered free. Now, this is a catch-22 situation. You provide an honorable, dignified position to a person, he or she would contribute enormously. You pull down somebody and consider them casual, they will contribute least. So there is that difference in perception of building a cohesive and efficient team that implements a project. And all team members must be considered equal in making the project successful.
I totally
without hierarchies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally resonate with you because I have worked half of my career in the international projects outside India. What you are telling is exactly correct because people sitting at the helm of the company without any know-how of the engineering, most of the people do not have any engineering background, first of all. And 80%, 90% companies focuses on sales.
It's engineering, it's design, it's architecture, it's everything. It's art, it's aesthetics, it's everything. Yeah.
Everything. My perspective, or what I have seen from the global perspective, working in a global company, multinational company, the real estate projects used to be headed by the engineers. I mean, technical person, be it an engineer, be it an architect. So they understand the time part of it. They understand the estimate part of it. They understand the budget part of it. They understand what a good for construction drawing means. Because without a good for construction drawing, you cannot have the correct quantity takeoff. If you do not have the correct quantity takeoff, you cannot have a budget. Now forget about all these things. Many of the companies in India do not have a budget also. They prepare budget just like that. I mean,
even before consultants are called in.
Yes, even I totally agree with you and resonate with you.
On a square foot basis from their little experiences of building their own little houses somewhere in small towns or villages becomes the indices of the base.
In essence, in technicality, there is no relationship with the three C's, meaning the client, consultant, and the contractors. Consultants are taken for granted. Even the contractors are taken for granted. The contract document framed itself is one-sided. Client doesn't have any mistake.
All agreements with consultants and contractors are one-sided, whereas legally an agreement is between two parties or two people, not an appointment of one by the other.
Correct, correct. It's a legal.
That's the difference. That's the subtle difference.
Yes, yes, yes. Totally agree. But I mean, having said that, the real estate industry from government perspective, they have introduced RERA. After introducing RERA, 50% of the developers vanished because they could not. Now, how, as a professional, we can contribute to the country and bring in and make the companies, I mean, work efficiently. So that's what I have been interviewing CEO and above for all the companies, trying to know the problems from them, and end of the day, it is also our responsibility to address and make things right. What you have to say about it?
No, I think even if there is a CEO, let's take it very practically. A company has a management CEO who's largely skilled in management training.
Mm.
Fine, a person like him or her is necessary too. What he or she should do is immediately form a cohesive group of different skilled people, a designer, an engineer, a civil, engineers of different kinds, civil, mechanical, etc., an urban designer, an aesthetics person, an artist, into framing the program and conceptualizing the project and budgeting for it. Budgeting not by themselves, within the
Right.
cadres of the management, from their own wisdom and superior knowledge, quote unquote. Once they form a cohesive group to structure the project, its scale, its time, its cost, then they may invite the varied consultants to take charge within that broad framework and hold a first meeting with the appointed consultants to bounce back on the outlines and conceptualization of the project profile prepared by the management group. That would place a project to start with at the right platform, launching platform.
Correct.
What happens is the management will budget 100 rupees. By the time the feed comes in, the estimates come in, it's 300 rupees or it's 200 rupees.
Yes.
Then there is a pandemonium. Then everybody is called to be fired that they are just doing things high-handedly, that consultants are not sensitive, that the team that's come in is being irresponsible, and so on and so forth. So I think building a client brief, a cohesive and comprehensive brief, is really the starting point, which we do not do.
Correct. Very true.
And the second, which is important, is then the appointed consultants are brought together with this management group to brainstorm of what the management group has prepared as the profile, and then revise the profile to take it to really the designing stage. Otherwise, what we do, a client will call a consultant, an architect, hey, tum ye design karo, do this, prepare this design. He or she just prepares a grand design. Then it's again revised because it's exceeding the limits of either the brief of the client in terms of requirements or the cost that outlay has been outlined.
Yeah.
Then the consultant does 5 times reworking without adequate covering of the values of time and input and creativity. So this, we start from day one on a wrong foundation, which obviously then keeps collapsing en route in the long journey of a successful implementation of a project. There are many, many collapses on the way, and half our energy or more than half our energy goes in correcting those mistakes.
Correct.
Or rectifying or rebuilding on the collapses that has been mounting.
Yes, very true. Very true.
So instead of creative time input, we spend more time in rectifications.
Very true. I totally
and investigations and reassessments.
Yes, yes, yes. One another observation, what I have observed during my 30 years of tenure, is that the fact of the matter is that, as you rightly said, whether it is an appointment of contractor, consultant, everybody, the client will go for L1, irrespective of knowing the potential of the contractor or the consultant. They just go by the figure, which means from the day one we are compromising. So everything starts its delivering in L1 terms. What you have to say about it?
Well, at a certain point of time, the idea of L1 may not be wrong. But the question is, have we taken it to that level where L1 can be then just without much application of mind taken on board? Now, what does this mean? Before you have a parallel set of consultants or contractors invited to or pre-qualified for the project, a fine assessment of their abilities on certain equal terms would have to be done. Now, those equal terms are often on turnover based, not quality based, not methodology based, not creativity based, but turnover based. Even architects are invited to bid on turnover basis. So what we're looking for is muscles, not quality.
Yes.
Not a toned body, but a deflated, inflated, and deflated body, which is sick.
From the day one itself.
From day one itself, with obesity.
Yeah.
And this sort of a turnover has the same crisis as being the only criteria as obesity to a human body.
Yes.
Because there comes with it, with obesity, a set of illnesses which you have to start curing and treating from day one. So with the single idea of turnover of a contractor, of a consultant, you have set your foot onto a murky ground where you have to deal with sicknesses and treatments.
From the day one.
The day one. So again, reaching the point of being able to select the L1 requires a build-up. And that is again not carried out because management says, hey, we want this fast and in a time frame of 100 days. Whereas nobody can ever assess that project to be done, technically speaking, in less than 300 days. But to achieve the contracts, it's taken, and then everything starts again, the illnesses and the treatments.
Same happens in the execution also. Things are taken for granted, no method statement, no planning. Thing is to start the execution immediately without any planning.
But just to go back on the last point, time is a very interesting concept. Most misunderstood, misutilized, and misinterpreted.
Correct.
When a particular management sets a timeline of a project for whatever their business interest and calculation or whatever the reasons be, nobody then does a true assessment of that time.
Correct.
Shortcuts are found to physically start the work without adequate design work. Now, this is very interesting. Then the work starts without proper design. And then on the way, designs are revised or construction is being revised, torn down and rebuilt because designs had not come in time. Instead, this is practiced in many places internationally, that a good amount of time is provided for design.
Yeah, of course.
The value and significance of design in the planning of efficiency, efficient execution, and timely completion is most important. Because if adequate time has been provided for planning and consultancy services, then only a construction company can take over with their eyes closed on matters relating to design. But if design continues to be a parallel process with construction for the 10 years of the construction period, then obviously there are failures and works redone inflating cost and affecting adversely the quality.
Yeah, yeah. And more
So,
often than ever, it has also been seen that many of the contracts goes to the court for settlement down the line because
it's,
yeah, day of the
yeah, because but I've kind of answered that question. You know, you start with an obese condition,
yeah, 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 yeah.
a condition where designs haven't been developed.
Mm,
Enough application of mind has not been permitted under pressure of time set out in stone by one manager or one management CEO or the head of the company.
mm,
And nobody has the guts and time to question that what has been set out is wrong to begin with.
mm, correct, very true.
And therefore, it gets into litigations, claims, disclaims,
Yeah.
conflicts, repairs, breaking down and redoing of jobs. The project finally falls ill.
Mm, mm. Yes, yes, very true.
We start with an illness and we end with the illness.
Correct.
We become a set of ill people whose
Yes.
output can only be ill projects.
So, I mean, last but not the least, what will be your one-liner statement for the real estate developers or the builders or the owners of the companies?
I think I set out a kind of a procedure. First, a core group of diverse people at the management level who profile a project in all its terms.
Yeah.
Then, a team of consultants who brainstorm with that management group who has prepared the profile to redefine the profile, to reframe the profile, or revise that profile. It is upon that profile, the second set of profile, upon which consultants are given adequate time to design. It's only after completion of the design process
Yeah.
that a contractor is invited to bid for construction. If
Correct.
this minimum standard is set out,
Yeah.
we will achieve better time in completion.
Yeah.
We will achieve far superior quality
Yeah.
and be efficient in our execution.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
That's
that's the message. Yeah. Yeah. I think you have pretty much covered everything in a very short time. And let's see, I mean, what best can be done from our end.
sure.
Just
All
a
the best here.